Thank you, Gretchen, and beautiful Kirk, Grant, Tony, for that beautiful reminder of the beauty in the celebration of Hanukkah, which actually begins on this coming Wednesday, December 16th. It's a winter holiday. It falls in either the fall or the winter months, and it's a time when, for 8 days, the Jewish people come together and celebrate the miracle of life, the miracle of God, family, and they celebrate together their faith. I'd like to take a few moments this morning to just talk about the history of Hanukkah, because there's a message in all faiths for each and every one of us. And there's a miracle. Hanukkah is called the Festival of Lights, and it celebrates the miracle, God's handiwork, the work of the angels that Dr. Roger talked about this morning. The events that inspired Hanukkah took place during a particularly turbulent time in Jewish history. Around 200 BC, the people in Jerusalem were living under Egyptian rule, although they were allowed to practice their own religion and culture. However, when the king's son, Antiochus IV, took over, he was not quite so benevolent. He had different thoughts and ideas about what the Jewish people should do, and he told them they needed to practice and worship the Greek gods. Didn't go over too well, but the soldiers descended upon Jerusalem, massacring thousands of people and taking over the temple, where they erected a huge statue of Zeus, and they sacrificed the pigs within the sacred walls of the temple. Well, as I said, this did not settle too well with the Jewish people, even though the Greek-Syrian army was much, much, much stronger than the Jewish army. Mattathias and his 5 sons took on a large, long-scale rebellion against the Greek-Syrian army. Lasted 2 to 3 years. And when Jediah Maccabee, one of Mattathias' son, called, I'll tell you, you can kind of figure out how strict and tough he was. His nickname was the Hammer. Took over, the Jewish army won, which was a miracle in itself. And they rededicated their temple. Hanukkah means rededication, where they took out the statue of Zeus and reestablished their sacred practices and principles. You can just feel how important and special that was. Well, today when we lit the flames of faith, this represents a menorah. It's a little different scale, but the menorah has 8 lights, because I'll tell you in a minute, the miracle lasted 8 days, with a center candle being the shamash candle, which means the candle that supports the others. We call it the God candle, but the candle that supports the others. So when they were rededicating their temple, they put up their large menorah and found they only had enough oil for the light to last for 1 day. And they had to purify the oil, and it was an 8-day process. And the miracle of Hanukkah, the miracle of life, is there's something so much bigger than we are alone. That one light lasted for 8 days, just what they needed. Now, we call this a miracle, but it's just what we don't understand with our surface mind, that there is a power greater than we are at work. So today, in recognizing and honoring the miracle of Hanukkah and the faith and the family, I also want us to honor the light that we are. I read in our Science of Mind magazine for this month a little quote that was just taken off someone on Twitter sent out. But it was so beautiful that I really wanted to establish it for us today. It said, "I finally stopped looking for the light. I finally stopped looking for it, and I decided to become the light." And I believe this time of great darkness, the time of the holiday season, when we see a lot of external lights, is a time for us to reestablish the light of oneness that we are. The light represents, in all religions and faiths, the light represents the oneness and aliveness within all our beings. Oneness and aliveness. It also represents the creative intelligence that wants to be expressed through us. So I'll invite us this time right now as we look at the candles of faith to realize that we are the part of that unifying process as we let down our boundaries of judgment. We can truly, truly heal our world because as we align ourselves with the experience of light, it illumines not only our environment, but it brings peace, wisdom, and love to the world. Griffin, did we get that slide up? If we could have the slide up right now. The first quote here. During Hanukkah, the Jews have a practice from the Hallel, which is the Psalms from 113 to 119. And it's a lot to read, so I just took one, the opening line from Psalm 118 and the closing of 119. And it says, "Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His steadfast love endures forever." This isn't just a Jewish practice. This is a practice for all faiths. So I'd like us just, in honor of Hanukkah, I'd like us to read this one phrase from the Psalms. Just read it together. Let's read it 3 times. "Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His steadfast love endures forever. Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His steadfast love endures forever. Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His steadfast love endures forever." I think that's a unification we can do right now together. You know, when Kirk opens the service every Sunday, 52 Sundays, but however many, anyway, all that time, he says, all paths lead to God. That makes us feel good. What he forgets to say, or he doesn't say on purpose, is it's not at the same time for everyone. We all get there at our own rate. God is all there is, we know, but we are on a path of awakening. When we come here to this planet, we are here to be woken up to recognizing that we are one, recognizing that God is all there is. But sometimes, some of us are just a bit more stubborn than others, right? We think we're separate and alone, and we think we're here because we're going to do it alone. And we forget that there's this unifying principle that we can call light, that we can call love, that we can call compassion, that we can call wisdom, this unifying principle that unites us all. We forget that, and we think we have to do it alone. And so the life is here teaching us. God is here teaching us. The angels are at work. But boy, those angels have to work so much harder with some people and sing so much louder to get us to wake up. We need to have the courage to step away from our surface mind, because our surface mind, our egoic mind, only takes us so far. And when we see from that limited consciousness, we will see separation. We will see that, and we'll think that's what life is when we truly know at the depth of our soul. We know something different. Because the light that we talked about, the light that heals, the light that is that aliveness, it resides beyond the surface mind in the heart of every being. And so when we talk about letting the mind rest on the heart, when we talk about let your heart speak, it's from that eternal place that unites us. Now, the stuff we teach here in New Thought is not new. It's old. It's new thought, ancient wisdom. Our teachings come from very, very, very old practices, from mystics who knew about the oneness of life. Origen of Alexandria, who lived from 185 to 254 AD, was one of the greatest Christian theologians. He was known for his dedication to spiritual practice. So let me just ask you, how are your spiritual practices doing? Are any of you forgetting during the busyness of the holiday to take time every day to remember? Let me tell you what Origen taught, and I want you to see if this resonates with what we teach at all here. First of all, he taught free will. That we are here, yes, we're all going to the same place, but we have free will how fast we get there. We have free will to make decisions either in alignment with our good or not. It's like Ernest Holmes says in our textbook, the sun shines on all alike, the wise and the ignorant. The good shines on all of us alike, just as the rain falls on all of us too. So Origen said we are here with free will, and every soul is in the eternal motion to God. He said the eternal motion of our souls to seek God. We call that evolution, the evolution that we're all moving in the same direction. It just takes some of us longer to get there. And I know at times there are sometimes we wish those people who are a little more ignorant, that really do practice some of those unbelievable practices of man's inhumanity to man, we think, oh, they're going to roast in hell. But there is no hell. We're all on this path of evolution. And when Origen taught, which is what just resonates with us, he said, there is restoration for all souls. He called this universal restoration. That why we're all here is because we're here growing and awakening to who we really are. Now, is anything right now, I'll tell you what helps me more than anything when I get off track, because this world is dense and it's very tantalizing sometimes to pull us off track and recognizing we are one, is to think in my daily spiritual practice to ask, what principle of God am I forgetting right now? What principle of God am I not in alignment with in this moment? What principle of God is keeping me stuck in the old mindset that keeps me separate from my good? If we think about this beautiful world in which we live, it is a total success. It works perfectly without our help. It is that power that's there for us. And when we choose to get in alignment with the success of the universe that's simply an expression of God, we can ask, where am I not in alignment with the success of my physical being, with my emotional being, with my mental being, with my spiritual being? Where do I need to step back in alignment with the truth, the God principle? So just think for yourself right now, where is it right now that I need to align with a greater sense of oneness and perfection? Now, those were the words from 2,000 years ago, more than that, from Origen of Alexandria. Ernest Holmes says, evolution carries us forward. We can consciously work on our own destiny and our experiences of life. In other words, fix it now or fix it later. But we're going to have to fix it because we're on a journey of our soul. Jesus said, love your enemies because we're all going to be in heaven together. Love your enemies. We're all going to be there together. Science of mind goes on. And this is a hard one for us. Okay, and I just think on a barometer of evolution, where are we? The evolved soul judges no one. An evolved soul judges no one, condemns no one, but realizes that all are on the road of experience, seeking the same goal, and must ultimately find his home. Must ultimately find his home in heaven. And we know that heaven isn't a place we go, but a state of consciousness. Are we aligned with peace and love and wisdom? It's a state of consciousness. How are you doing? Pretty good? Good. Okay. So, you know what? I love that laughter, because one of the spiritual practices we forget is laughter. Being able to look at ourselves when we forget who we are and laugh at ourselves. Do you ever get hard on yourself for not forgetting, or maybe judging too much, or doing something, and you get really hard? And what does hardness do? It hardens us up. But if we can look at ourselves and go, oh my God, did you just see what I was thinking? Oh my goodness, can you imagine? I went there. How funny. Can you just give yourself a laugh for a minute? It's pretty hysterical if you think about it. But laughter, we forget that as a spiritual practice. And we get so serious sometimes in trying to do our work. And we think, okay, you know what? I'm going to go meditate this problem away. It doesn't work that we got to loosen up first. If we're really going to meditate a problem, we got to loosen up. We've got to make the space for something more to happen. If we want to step away from that limited ego surface mind that wants to fix everything right here, that wants to do it all ourselves, we're going to have to loosen it up first. I want to tell you a story that comes from a book that Rumi wrote, again in the 13th century, a beautiful mystic. It's called One-Handed Basket Weaving. In the book, Rumi celebrates this beautiful Sufi Sikh who lost one of his hands. And there was a visitor that came by to see the Sikh, and he went in without knocking. And what he saw was the Sikh was weaving palm leaf baskets. And this visitor screamed out from his surface mind, "It takes 2 hands to weave." But what the Sikh knew, because he wasn't disillusioned by dismemberment or death, he knew a greater experience. And because of that, he had to help him a divine hand that helped him weave. And the Sikh said to his astonished visitor, "When those anxious, self-protecting imaginations leave." I'm just going to read that again in case we have one of those we'd just like to forget about. When those anxious, self-protecting imaginations leave, the real cooperative work begins. There is no transformation that happens without cooperation. So if you and I are in the consciousness of transformation, we are not only working in cooperation with Spirit, but also with each other. Gary Renard, who is a leading teacher of the Course in Miracles, which is the downloaded information from Jesus, said that the teachings of Jesus were not just Christian, but they had a deep Jewish and Buddhist influence. He was teaching ecumenical teachings. He wasn't teaching one way. And Gary Renard goes on to say, you know, how you experience life and yourself isn't what you think about yourself. It's how you see other people. How you see other people is going to decide how you experience life. So I want to take this moment right now, if you'll just join me in prayer as we come together. We've talked today, we opened in our Lighting the Flames of Faith. We opened today in recognizing and knowing that we are ready and willing right now not just to look for the light, but to become the light and be the light of creative expression, be the light of aliveness and oneness. And in order to do so, in order to be that light, we must recognize and know that God truly is all there is. So just in this moment, I know for each and every one of us that we can let go of that small box that's kept us confined and step into a greater experience. And to know that every person here, every person is on a path of their own experience. That each person, everyone, is on a journey to God, to fullness, to wholeness, to recognizing and absolutely embracing right here and now that we are one. And I know as we step into this understanding, we're able to cleanse from our eyes, our external eyes and our internal eyes, any thoughts of separation, that we can embrace the practices and principles and the qualities of God in our daily life, That when we fall off, we can readjust simply by asking the question, because we cooperate with Spirit. We allow the divine hands of God to work through us, as we cooperate not only just to heal ourselves, to heal our body temple, to heal our relationships, to heal our finances, our creative expression, to heal our connection with God. We allow ourselves to be in this cooperative energy, to be the vehicles and expressions of Spirit right here and right now. And as we are fully immersed in this holiday season, this season of lights, we allow ourselves to be reminded with every light we see that the light of God resides within us. The light of love resides within us. The light of healing resides within us. And as we look to that, the holiest of nights, where the stars are shining brightly, we see that we're not just one in this little universe, but we're one with the entire universe. And we allow that light of the holiness of this Spirit to light us up and allow us to live in complete freedom to choose love, choose healing, choose light right here and right now. And I simply invite up Gretchen and our beautiful InSpirit band to absolutely allow us to be magnified in the truth of our being, to awaken and remember who we are. And let this holy, sacred season be a season of remembering, realignment, and renewal.